I want to share with you something very important. It's in Mark chapter 5. I call it a story of transformation. And that's actually what the Bible is. In the Bible, you have many stories. Now, these stories are not just meant to maybe warm our hearts or make us feel good. They are not. So, what some persons think of Bible stories is maybe a replacement or a substitute for some secular novels or secular materials, but the Bible is not. The Bible stands in a class of its own. The Bible contains stories of transformation. In the Bible you see real men with real situations who experienced a real God and then who transformed their lives. In Mark chapter 5, there was this demon possessed man who the world rejected. Everybody stayed away from him. It was weird, it was dangerous, no one could stand him. He lived in the tombs. That's how bad the situation was. Very many times they have tried to chain him, but then he wrenched those chains apart, effortlessly. He broke the shackles in pieces. Bible said no one had the strength to subdue him. So this guy was a terror in that community. Now what happened? Jesus met this man and Jesus delivered him. Jesus freed him from his oppression. Jesus freed him from that demon possession. And then his life became transformed from the very moment he met Jesus. Now, when the people heard about what had happened to him, guess where they found him? They found him sitting at the feet of Jesus learning. He was in his right mind. He was clothed and he was in his right mind. You find that story in Mark chapter 5. Now, that story is a beautiful story of transformation, showing us how much the power of God can actually transform a man, how the power of God can change a man, bring a man from darkness into light. Yes. And if you look at Mark chapter 5, verse 14, give me a second. Mark chapter 5, verse 14. It says, the herdsmen fled and told it in the city and in the country, and people came to see what it was that had happened. And they came to Jesus and saw the demon possessed man, the one who had had the legion, sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. All right, so, excuse me, this miracle that happened caused the people to be afraid. That's not even where I'm going. Where I'm going is the fact that there's nobody that Jesus cannot transform. This guy was demon possessed. People were scared of him. But when he met Jesus, he became someone that could be approached. He became someone that people could relate with. Now, one of the things I've realized about meeting God or having our lives transformed is that it helps our relationship with other people. If you meet Jesus and you're transformed by him, it's going to help how you relate to other people. If, for example, people stayed away from you because they perceived you as wicked, people will now start to see you differently. That's exactly what Jesus does. See, when a man comes to meet Jesus, his encounter with Jesus transforms the man's relationship. I've seen married men, for example, become more responsible at home just because they encountered Jesus. Wives becoming more loving, children becoming more open to their parents. So there is no relationship that cannot be affected when a man meets Jesus. It brings out the best in you. Now, where I'm going today, my emphasis is actually verse 18. Bible said as he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed with demons begged him that he might be with him. So that man wanted to keep going with Jesus. He wanted to follow Jesus. Now, Jesus gave him an instruction. That is my emphasis today. What's that instruction Jesus gave him? Bible said in verse 19, he did not permit him, but said to him, Jesus said to the man, go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. So can you see that? So this man who was initially rejected, who people stayed away from, who stayed away from people, now this is Jesus now telling him, go home to your friends. Go tell them how much the Lord has done for you, and now He has had mercy on you. So his encounter with Jesus had set him free from that. That the distance that he had, or the distance that existed between him and other people, that distance was no longer there. He now had the freedom to be with his family. He had the freedom to talk to his friends. Do you understand? Remember, he was living in the tombs before, but now Jesus says, go home to your family. Home is where you belong. Yeah, go home to your friends, and tell them how much the Lord has done for you. Now, this man, because he has met Jesus, can now start to have meaningful conversations with people who had once rejected him. Do you understand? His dignity was restored. His honor was restored. That's what God does. When someone meets Jesus, Jesus restores the whole man. Do you understand? It makes you completely whole. Your relationship is affected. Your honor, your dignity, your reputation, whatever it is you lost to sin, to darkness, all those things are restored. So the Bible contains many stories like this. Stories of men who God brought from nothing. Do you understand? And that's what God wants to do for everybody. God does not just want you to start going to church. He wants to restore your family. You see? He wants to restore you in in the society, in the community. God wants to restore you. Do you understand? So what we actually refer to as salvation comes with many other wonderful experiences, many other wonderful things. You see people becoming more responsible, becoming more hardworking. Do you understand? A lot happens to the man who receives Jesus. Are you with me? So I'm one of those preachers who believe that there's nobody in the world that cannot be changed by the power of God. The gospel is that certain. The gospel is the power of God unto salvation, and anybody in the world, no matter how fallen you are into sin, no matter how fallen you are into depravity, anyone in the world can be restored by the power of the gospel. So your family can become better. Is that okay? Your relationships can be healed. Your relationships can be renewed. Do you understand? All those broken relationships, father, children, spouses, all of those things, friends, all those friendships and relationships can be restored. All it just takes is an encounter with Jesus, and everything changes. All right, thanks for joining in today. The Lord bless you.